Hello, 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 beautiful souls, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited to be here today with a beautiful dear friend of mine, John Sansoni, and we are going to be talking to you guys about how to remain resilient in business or in life in general and to not get burnt out. I feel like life the past 2 years have put us all through a ringer, and some of us have learned to go on and persevere, and some of us may have not. And some of us are in that stage where we know we want to continue to go further, but we can't get past some of these little limiting beliefs and blocks. So we're going to talk to you guys kind of about like how to really be successful in your business and stuff like that. We were just mentioning before, right before we hopped on this call, we're both a fan of Tony Robbins. I love him especially. I'm getting into one of his programs, and I really love the fact when you look at business that there's these ultimate factors that really determine your success and your fulfillment in life. And a lot of it has to be growth and change and all these beautiful things. So we're not only going to talk to you guys about how to uplift your mood, but really, like, if you want to get ahead and really be super successful and really feel fulfilled in life, you have to be moving always constantly forward and growing and curiosity and just really thriving and being fully awake. Because the moment that you put that snooze button on and you go back to sleep in life, it's like, what is life? Life is, if you're not living, you're the opposite, you're dying. So how can we live more? So I'm going to go ahead. You guys all know me. I help entrepreneurs, busy entrepreneurs, burnt out busy entrepreneurs up-level their health and wealth and actually turn water into wealth and change their life and work from their phone and make an online income. And I'm going to introduce the beautiful John and let him share a little bit about what he does. He actually wrote an amazing book called Sales Warrior that he's going to just mention briefly. And then we're going to talk to you guys about these beautiful topics. All right.
Awesome, Kat. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked to be on your show. So I'm a professional sales guy, been professionally selling 32 years. I just felt that there's a lot of non-authentic selling that goes on out there, and a lot of people who aren't authentic teach sales. And what I mean by that, like, I sold stuff today, a lot of stuff today. I'll probably sell a bunch of stuff tomorrow. And I'm still selling. So if you're learning from me, you're learning from somebody who's successfully selling and has been for several years. But we're here to talk about, enjoying life and burnout. And I can't think of a better time than January, because you go into like the Christmas holiday time and it's like you're a little kid again and you're forced to relive your childhood. And if you have a wonderful holiday and it's too wonderful, then a lot of people get down in January. And the way not to get down in January and to be successful in business, and I think I have my fists up, but I feel like, in life, you gotta warrior on, and a warrior puts up their fists and makes it through life, attacking life head on. And one way you can attack life head on is make a list of 4 things that you really enjoyed about your holidays, and then refer back to it. And don't refer back to it like, oh, I can't believe the holidays are over, this sucks. Refer back to it and be like, oh my God, I am so grateful that I got to live these moments with these people and had these experiences. And any presents you got are worthless. The presents are you being present in the time that you were with those people, because you might not get to be with those people next Christmas. And then next, set goals for the year, the month, the day, the week, the month. You got to make them written goals. You got to date them when you're going to complete them. And your goals got to jazz you. So what do I mean by jazz you? If you look at the goal and it absolutely doesn't motivate you, you do not have a worthwhile goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about the music professional that sits in there and they're writing a song, and they write it, and it might be a great song, but it doesn't jazz them. They don't get into it. They don't like it. Maybe a lot of people don't know all the history of people like Jimi Hendrix, but Jimi Hendrix really got into a funk. Like, he was so tired of doing Purple Haze and all the beginning songs that really made him world famous. He hated doing those songs. He wanted to do like symphonic type. He wanted to take rock music to a new level. Like, at the end of Jimi Hendrix's life, that's where he was. He wanted to do rock and roll symphonies, kind of along the same lines of like a Frank Zappa. And what's that?
would have been amazing. I would have loved to see that.
Oh, I think there's some of his stuff out there, but like that's what his vision was, you know, 3 drum sets over here, bongos over here, a guy playing piano over there. Jimmy would sit there and listen to it. He did not want to do simplistic rock and roll that made him famous. And you know, Paul McCartney kind of went that way too. Like he wanted big music. Like the Beatles had good music, but they didn't have big music. They didn't have like, you know, the stuff that I'm a music guy. So you know, the stuff that like the guy, I'm trying to think of his name, but he came up with the Wall of Sound. Really famous producer. He produced all John Lennon's stuff. I'll think of it while we're talking, but you probably know who I'm talking about. But he was big. I mean, the songs this guy produced, some of the biggest songs in the world. And for whatever reason, I can't think of who it is right now.
I'm a house music. I'm one of those 80s babies that I was into a little bit of funky, the jazz music.
There you go. There you go. I'll look this dude up because
rock and roll and stuff. But yeah,
you look to the music profession. So easy for those guys to get in a rut, and in sales and in business, it's so easy for us to get into a rut. And so you got to look for inspiration everywhere. Like I look for inspiration everywhere. You know, one of the things recently that inspired me is I watched a documentary on Evel Knievel. And no worries. So Evel Knievel, famous daredevil in the 70s. He used to get his motorcycle that weighed about 400 to 500 pounds going about 100 miles an hour. He would jump it off of a motorcycle ramp, do anywhere from 10 to 13 cars and or buses and land on the other side. Nobody was doing this when Evel Knievel was doing it. Now all kinds of people do this stuff. But back in the day, in the late 60s and through the 70s, early 70s, he was the man, multi-millionaire.
Yeah. I like how you talk about that because I do think that there's a level of uniqueness that has to come with old business. If a person is not doing something unique that's setting them apart, like how you were sharing with Jimi Hendrix getting burnt out and do something different. I think in today's society, that's an issue, is that so many people, they get it, they get famous, and then their life goes on repeat and they go, what now? Like, what now? I'm doing the same thing every day. So if you don't have this level of not only consistency inside of your success, but this inconsistency in doing different things every single day, you're going to end up feeling like you're burnt out later. So I think that there's such a very valid point in talking about that and talking about these people who have been very famous and them reaching outside of their box. And I think that that's the biggest thing I love, especially to when we're talking about goal setting, or we're talking about even the sales business and stuff like that. So many people in life, they're captured inside of this little box. And I realize that sometimes when I talk to people who are 9 to 5, and the reason why I bring this up is that those people are the people that are craving adventure and differences the most. And they're sometimes the most saddest people are people that are living inside of a cubicle because their life is on repeat. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because we're talking about how not to get burnt out. You know, so for one, I feel like when you're talking to people about mindset, like, why are people doing these jobs that are not going to satisfy them, for one? So I want to bring that up because this is a very valid. So many people are not living their life and their fulfillment of the direction where they're actually living their dreams. They're working for money. And in the end of working for money, they're so freaking miserable that when they do have free time, they can't even enjoy it because they're too busy being sad over not having money and on this vicious cycle of like, oh, I need to work, I need to make money. And then they make the money and they're like, fuck, I hate my life. You know, and it's funny because I think that you know this and I know this. We both work in sales. I work in direct sales. He works in another sales. I'm not exactly sure the classification, but, you know, I think there's such a beauty when you're able to do something that allows you to be more fully expressed, where you're not and doing the same thing every day on repeat. It's like I share to people all the time, even when I do these lives, I do these lives to really help show people that life can be really different. Because I think a lot of people right now are living in this paradigm of this boxed business type of lifestyle, you know, and the reason why they're getting burnt out is because they're not understanding, one, they don't have the awareness that they're in a box. They're not realizing, think like, what do you mean? Like, I'm doing what I was told. I went to school, I got a job, I'm making money, and I'm fucking miserable. Right. And it's because you don't have that element of inner development or inner growth. So How can you do something in life that's going to be more fulfilling to yourself and actually going to keep you happy? And I think that there's something that can be said for people that do have that, because they have security in the sense that they do have money coming in. But don't let a false sense of security blind you from seeing possibility. Because I think at the other end of this comfort that people fall into, which ends up leading them into deep depression on the same regular cycle, there's this level of when you can open your mind to other opportunities out there in the world, that you can actually live a more life by design. And I think most people don't realize that there's a whole different way of life to do business, because we go to school, we're taught what in school? You go to school, you learn questions and answers, you complete your test, you get your degree, you go from your degree, you get your college, you do your whole thing, and then you get bumped into this employee mindset, right? This
Right.
employee mindset, not even trained to be a business owner. You get trained to do what other people's dreams are, and never once are you living your dream. Never once are you doing what you love. And I think more than anything, on probably both of our list of friends, there are so many people right now that are in this space that are probably working a 9 to 5, are probably burnt out, probably exhausted, and because they're not taking care of themselves. And when they have the money and they have what they consider as the goals, the house, the car, they're miserable because they have no sense of inner fulfillment, you know? And I
Right.
think,
Absolutely. I'm sure there's a lot of people like that.
oh my God, there's so many. And I want to say, first off, my heart goes out to you. And second of all, I want to say that there are so many things that I want to kind of bridge into awareness about this, about just understanding that life doesn't have to be that mundaneness. There's so many opportunities right now. I want to talk about maybe going into recession, that life is going to get a little wonky in this up and coming year. And if you are not, if you are unhappy now, imagine what life is going to feel like in 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, if something doesn't change for you, you know? So if you cannot change your situation of what you're dealing with, how can you change your mindset about that? Which is what we really wanted to do this chat on. But also too, just know that if you are feeling this unfulfillment, take this as a signal that you need to wake up a little bit and listen in and understand that you don't have to continue to slave away like this. There's so many opportunities more than ever. We both work in online businesses to be able to build a life for yourself of freedom. And there's a difference between being wealthy and being financially free. You know, being freedom is a whole different blueprint of wealth than having money in a bank account that you can't enjoy, because if you want to go on a vacation to Mexico for a week, you can't take your time off of online. Yeah, I mean, off of your business. You're stuck in your cubicle, you're stuck in your business, you can't even step out of it. And that's why so many people are ending up suicidal with mental health issues. Their life is like the freaking Groundhog Day, you know? So like, if anything, I just wanted to bring that point in, because when we're talking about
Good call.
yeah, I feel like so many people don't realize the real why it feels redundancy is that you're not really living in your life's sole purpose at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was a mouthful, but I wanted to share that. And I would love to hear any perspectives, because John is such an amazing, we met on a phone call before this and in a podcast group, and he's got a lot of really amazing insight. I love about how he can look at situations. And this is something that I love doing too, is that no matter what's going on in your life, if you can't change it, how can you change the way you think about it? When it comes to work, I'm sorry, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, we all can change that. Whatever your business idea is, you absolutely can change that. So that's something that's always sitting there. But it starts with also changing your mindset and your views of the world. You know, how can you become okay enough to live another day and start to see opportunity on the other side? Because most people are sulking and they're sad and they're unsatisfied and their life on repeat. And they're, I guess, how can you have gratitude for what you have, but understand that there's more? There's always more.
Absolutely. You got to be on both sides of the fence. You got to be in growth, but you also got to be enjoying what you have at the same time. Because you can't be like a John Belushi, John Belushi is a great example.
Killed himself, yeah.
So John Belushi at one point, and this is directly off Tony Robbins, so I stole it from Tony, but he had the #1 album, the #1 movie, and the #1 situational comedy show with Saturday Night Live all at the same time, and he ends up, going to in LA, he ends up killing himself really with drugs, and it's because he could never enjoy his success. And so there's two sides of it. You got to be like driving for that next thing, but you also got to be like really enjoying what you have. And it's a balancing act. But everybody's got to do it. You got to be able to like be in the here and the now and really enjoy what's going on in the here and the now. But you got to be looking into the future and wanting to achieve more. but at the same time, really enjoy the here and now.
Yeah.
And like everything in life, it's complicated.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Is like one thing also Tony Robbins talks about all the time is that a lot of people, they set a big goal for themselves or a money target or whatever it is, and they achieve it, and then they fall into depression afterwards. And the reason why they fall into depression afterwards is because when they got close to that goal, they didn't.
Yeah.
So once they accomplish it, they're like, shit, what do I do with my life now? I have the money, I have the house, I have the car. I don't feel like I can do anything. That's why most millionaires, they get all the money. They like not millionaires, but people that win the lottery, they get it all. They blow it all. One, because they don't know how to invest. That's the main reason why. I love, who was it that said this? I think it was Robert Kiyosaki. He said, if you evened out the playing field between all the rich and poor people, you gave everybody the same amount of income, it would only be a matter of time before the rich become rich and the poor go back to being poor again.
That's exactly right. Because it's not by accident that people are wealthy, and it's not by accident that people are poor. And the people that are poor can become wealthy, but they're not going to be able to become wealthy until they have the right mindset and believe that they can be wealthy. And more importantly, have a process for getting there. But none of it'll start until you believe that you can have it.
Yeah. And also, too, you have to believe in whatever higher purpose that's driving you. It's like so many people are running towards money, but they don't have a sufficient why. And that's one thing I talk into all the time. It's like most people don't even understand what they want to earn. They don't even know. They just like, I want to be rich. But what is rich to? Because rich to people are many different things. It's rich to some people is making $5,000 a month. Rich to other people are like, I need $1 million months. Rich to other people are 100K. But ultimately, what is that money encompass? That money is the reason why we work for money is because money is a measurement of time and energy. That's what the cost of something is how much time and energy that person has exerted in creating that for you. So most people are chasing after money, not understanding what they're really trying to do, which is to ultimately buy back their life. That's what most people want to do. They want to buy back their life. But if that person is working really hard for money, they have no idea what is their why. So when they arrive at the point of they have it all, they have no idea why they even work so hard to get it, and they're still unfulfilled. So it's like knowing your why, what's driving you, knowing why you want to make money, knowing what you want to do. And I think that is because there's so much stress in becoming successful. And most people are chasing success sometimes for some sense, but they don't understand it. It's like most people, why they want money is it's for relief. You need more money to live, and that's the thing is most people are barely surviving instead of thriving. And that's another thing.
Thriving, right? They're surviving, not thriving. Yeah, that's true.
It's so true. And I think a lot of it comes down to even the mindset. If you understood your vision behind why you need your money, for you to show up every day inside of your business, your job, your opportunity, or for you to open your eyes to other opportunities, you would be so much more dialed in if you understood what your bigger vision was, where you're going, and whether or not what you're doing is going to be a part of it. But so many people, they have no idea why they're reaching for their goals. They have no idea what the purpose of it is. They're just blindly running forward, knowing that we need money, but why? Because you're going to end up there and you're still not going to be happy. You're still not going to be satisfied. So you need to understand your why. And also to understand, like, what are your values? Because at the end of the day, if you cannot attach strongly enough to your endpoint, what are the values that's pushing you? Like for me, my daughter is my big why. I work every day. I do not every day, but I work online. It's a little bit easier. But for me, what pushes me is that I want to create a large enough income to live my life limitless, have my sovereignty, have my daughter in the best places that I can. My goal is to travel all over the world, which I can because I have a digital business.
Right.
And
sure.
And instead of me having to make a decision between organic or inorganic food, or stay in an Airbnb or stay in a beautiful whatever hostel, I never want to have to make those decisions. So every day when I'm waking up, I'm thinking about, when I'm looking at my goals, where do I want to see? And I envision myself, how would it feel if I actually had my dream life, if I actually had all the things that I wanted, if I actually hit all my goals. And in that alone, in moments when I feel down, I remember that whatever I'm dealing with is temporary, and all I have to do is get through it. On the other side of what feels like failure is this feeling and this sense of relief that's waiting for me. And that kicks me in the butt every single time.
Exactly. You got to have a carrot. You got to constantly be like,
the carrot,
yeah, and it's better if you've created your own carrot than somebody else's carrot. Like you're saying, if you're accepting a job and there's a ceiling at the job, then then you're accepting their carrot. And then you're going to get to eat their small little carrot once you get it. And it's probably not going to be enough, right? So,
you're going to be like, this carrot.
Yeah, so we need a better name than carrot, but the gold that you're going after, the goal and or gold that you're going after, it's got to be like, it's got to jazz you. Like you got to be excited about it. You got to be so excited about it. Like the next person you see, you want to talk to them about it because you're so excited. And if you don't have good friends that get excited about your goals, you need new friends. There are fun people out there that you can meet. And if you learn to meet new people, you're probably going to be wealthier, because people who can meet a lot of new people tend to be wealthier than people that keep their same friends their whole life. Yeah. Just an observation.
Yeah. And they say that your network is your net worth. And it's true, because if you want to know something about, like sometimes jokingly, I see this online, like someone says, oh, my husband's going away and his friend cheats on his wife. And I'm like, birds of a feather flock together. Same thing goes for your money and your goals and your ambitions, guys. Whatever's happening inside of your best friend's lives right now is going to mirror into your own life, because you are at a limitation of their beliefs and your own beliefs. Because if you were to say what your big goals and visions are, and other people are not anywhere near that, you're going to be, one, uncomfortable sharing what your big goals and visions are, and two, that people are not going to be able to meet you at the level. And it's interesting, because I heard this thing, and I can even envision it from an energetic point of view, that when you have this beautiful idea and you get really excited about it, we've all had this moment, we get this brainstorm, we got this clarity, and all of a sudden, I know what I want to do. And you go and tell somebody, and they knock you right in the heart. It's like, oh, and it hurts 100 times worse, because literally all your energy expanded. You're so excited for life. And then someone puts an arrow straight through the chest, where you're like running at them like this, like, yeah, they're just like, you're down from the count. And most people do not recover from that. And that's why it's so important that the people that you surround yourself really understand your vision and are on a similar path. And I'm not saying ditch all your friends, say screw your friends, but what I'm saying is limit.
No, I'm not either. I'm kind of jokingly saying that, but not a bad thing to have a couple of wealthy friends, though. I'm just saying, keep all your friends, but not a bad thing to learn from a friend of yours who's independently wealthy.
No, trust me, I'm right there with you. They say that most wealthy millionaires are introverts, because when you have your vision and your dream, a lot of conversations, they say like poor people talk about other people, middle level talk about things, and the rich people talk about like concepts and ideas, so it's like, if your people that are surrounding you are so busy chasing and talking about who they're going to sleep with or what they're going to do and some really basic bull stuff, if you have these huge dreams and ambitions, every time that you're honing in on these lower level conversations, it's going to take you away from this beautiful and grand vision that you have. And I think those people are kind of like vision killers, because, well, you want to step outside the box, they start trying to pull you back in, like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? That you sound crazy.
Right.
You think you'll be able to achieve that? And it's like, I'm doing it, aren't I?
Right.
Yeah, so you have to almost cut some people out in your life when you have a big dream and vision. And I think I was listening to Alex Hormozy, where he said is like, when you have a vision and a dream, whatever you want, and if it's not part of that vision and dream, you need to let it go.
Absolutely. I believe in that 100%. In fact, when you're going after a goal, your goal should be a litmus test for everything that you're doing. In that, you think of your goal, and then you think of something else that you want to do, and you say to yourself, is that getting me closer to my goal, or is that giving me farther away from my goal? A great example is like eating. If you're trying to lose weight, every time you're getting ready to have a meal, is this getting me closer to my goal, or is this getting me further away from my goal? Free time's another great example, Kat, because we're talking about like how to not get burned out. And we all got free time, right? So how do you spend your free time? I read 14 books last year. Is how I spent my free time. The only reason I counted them is because I thought it might be interesting to say on a podcast like this. But you're talking about being introverted. I'm kind of introverted and like super analytical. And so like I'll read a book, and I encourage people that are listening to us, you want to not get burned out on your own life, go find out about other people's lives. And you won't get burned out on your life. And more importantly, you'll become insightful in your own life. Like I've read so many books. I've read over 100 biographies, at least in my lifetime. I don't know how many documentaries I saw, but I have lived so many other people's lives in the short period of time I've been on this earth, that I know so many things about so many different areas that I've never gone to school for. And what you find is like all this stuff starts interrelating too. And then you find in like business, oh my God, I can use this in this conversation right now with this individual. I can use what I learned in those 14 books that I read this summer or, this year or whatever. And you just don't know when that information becomes knowledge and possibly wisdom until it's there. It's all there, but you don't know. It's not wisdom until you can use it wisely.
Yeah, I love how you talk about that, because one of the main inspirations that I do all the time is I'm an avid podcast listener. Not only do I do my own podcast, constantly Ed Milet, Tony Robbins, Jen Goldtilab, whatever her Italian name, I'm butchering it like crazy. All these really, probably can say it perfectly being Italian, but I listen to these people that are in spaces where I want to be, and I become inspired, because the thing is like, as a human being, we're all going to come up against the same hurdles. They're the human primary needs of what it means to be a human and survive. We're going to come into the exact same similar hurdles. And there's so much to learn, instead of us making the mistakes or us figuring it out, to look at what other people are doing, and people whose stories really resonate with us, take from their story and use it as inspiration for us and ourselves to get ahead. And honestly, that's one of the most uplifting things I've done this year, is just listen to people talk and hear about how they overcome and go, if they did it, I can do it.
Exactly. Yeah. I've gotten inspiration that way as well. And, it's all about like reframing what happens to you in a positive light. Most people don't do that. Most people instead, whatever their first thought is about something that happens to them. And I had because we're talking about podcasting, and I have an international comedy podcast. You would be great on it, by the way.
Let's do it.
So there you go. I like the enthusiasm. So I had my co-host at the time on the podcast. I had a friend of mine who's a film director and producer out in New York City. I had him on my podcast. We were having a great podcast. It gets to the end, and everybody leaves the podcast. I'm like, God, this was such a great show. And then I look at the StreamYard. I'm like, man, something looks wrong here. I don't see any, like right now we're seeing that we've been recording for 27 minutes. Where is that at? I'm like, oh my God, I didn't press record. I wasted everybody's time. Oh my God. I'm like, oh. And then I was thinking about it, because immediately, and I'm like, you know what, John, this is a learning point. Yeah, you're pissed off. Yeah, you feel like an idiot, but let's take the dog for a walk. We're going to do that anyway. So I grab my dog. We start walking, and I'm walking, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, definitely can't tell Dawn, my co-host, anytime soon, because she's in real estate. It took over an hour to do this morning. I will tell her, but I'm not going to tell her, like, I'm not going to ruin her day yet. We're going to wait a little while. I don't want to mess up any of her appointments today. But I'm walking along, and I'm thinking, why? Why did this happen? And the first thought is, and this is what most of us would say when things go wrong, is, I'm an idiot, right? That's the first thing. You want to label yourself. You want to say, well, if I didn't do something that seems so simplistic, that I must be not smart. And then I said, well, that can't be true, because I have a high view of myself. So I crossed that one out. And then I said, I know I'm smart. So the next one, I go, well, it's never happened before. Why did it happen this time? So I analyzed it, like, why did it happen this time? And what I found out, Kat, is that I was so focused on looking good in frame for me, making sure my buddy looked good in frame, making sure my co-host Dawn looked good in frame. I was so focused on the focus that I didn't think about the basics of time to record. Like, I didn't think about it. And then I thought, well, why was I so focused on that? I mean, like, normally it's not a big deal. It's because my buddy is a film producer, and I didn't want to make him look bad.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I've done that too. I screwed up because I didn't want to be embarrassed, because my own limiting beliefs about myself. And they're going to be like, see, you just don't get it. Like, you're not as talented as me or whatever. Yeah.
But then I thought at the very end, so you go through all this laundry list, and most people would stay at the top laundry list because they haven't trained their mind to be good to themselves. So most people take the first one and say, I'm an idiot. And then they
Yeah.
would just leave that they're an idiot. And maybe they won't ever do another podcast again. And that's what many people do in life. And that's how they get burned out, because these things stack, like these negative things stack. And if you let them stack, then you're going to be a small individual in this world, and you probably aren't going to do a lot. But if instead of stacking it, if you think about football, you're pushing it away. I'm not accepting this.
Yeah.
What is it though? I gotta tell my brain what actually it was. And what I ended up saying to myself was, I don't have a good system. Like,
Mm,
I can have a better system so this doesn't happen again. And since I have now developed a better system when I do my international comedy podcast, it hasn't happened again. The reason it hasn't happened is, and I use StreamYard just like you do. So the reason it hasn't happened is because as soon as I get myself in frame, I get the audio and everything exactly how I like it, boom, I hit record.
yeah.
Whenever my people come on the show, doesn't matter. I'm going to edit it anyway. So I'm not worried. I'm like, it's never going to happen again. And also I got a little signage on my recording desk that says press record.
Yeah. I think sometimes even having simple reminders like that around us is
Yeah,
that I love, because I've done that too, where I've just done really dumb things and I'm just like, how could I have done that? And you have to get comfortable with laughing at yourself. Like, so
absolutely.
you made a mistake, you screwed up, you ruined something, you lost something. What's the worst case scenario? Like, for me, example, something that drives me crazy that happens a lot in my life is I have a little girl, and my little girl likes to destroy a lot of things. And sometimes I just think about this as I could get really stressed, I could be really frustrated at it. But in the bigger picture of all of it, what do I need to do? Better safe proof my home and understand that she's a kid, she's going to do it. What can I do?
Right,
So this is
right.
more, I have a lot of moms on my stuff, and I find that sometimes like we find ourselves getting frustrated by things that aren't even in our control. So it's not even what's in our control, but when things are not within your control and you have no ability to change the other people around you, what you could do is choose to change the way that you respond to things and better safe proof yourself. So it's not only about safe proofing yourself against yourself, but looking at life and understanding that, whether it's a 2-year-old, a teenager, or a full-grown adult, that you can't control anybody's reactions around you. And if you know if something's going to be a high stressful period of something you're going to go through, how can you set yourself up for unpredictability inside of your
Yeah,
life? And that no matter what happens, you already know how you're going to react to it. And you already know how that you're going to try to prevent most of these bumper issues from happening without it becoming stressful.
exactly.
Really
And along those lines, one of the best ways to manage stress, other than exercise, I'm a big proponent of exercise. Like, I exercise every day, and I wouldn't have a day without exercise. Even if it's horrible weather out, I can walk the stairs in my house. So I'm going to exercise, and I encourage everybody to exercise, because if you want to feel better, do 20 to 30 minutes of some kind of cardio every single day. It's
Yeah.
not an option, particularly, post 30. It's not an option. The other thing that I would say is, man, people embrace humor.
Yeah.
Because I saw your thing when you're talking about people that are like on the bus or whatever, and they're not really living, they're just looking at their phone or whatever. They are
Yes.
missing out on the world around them, and possibly like a lot of humorous stuff that's going around them that they're not even going to be able to see because they're looking at their phone. So their phone better be funny, because like one of the best medicines you can have is
Laughter.
comedy.
Yeah. I look at that. If you can look at life like everything is a giant show and you're literally in your own movie and you're just like looking like, I can't believe that this is happening. Like one of the funniest things that happened to me was I remember when I was in India, and I'm going to share this story. We'll start to wrap it up because I don't want to
Oh
go
yeah,
too
all
long.
good. All good.
Yeah. But just, no, it's okay. But really quickly is when I was in India, I remember when my first days there, I was stressed out. I was in the middle of a cancer journey. So it was really serious for me to be in India. I was like going through a lot. And I just remember I'm walking down the street one day and I'm really deep in some thoughts. And I look up and there's 3 Indian men with 3 goats strapped onto a single motorbike. And I just go, are you fucking kidding me? 3 men bunched up together, 3 little Indian men and 3 goats, and the goats are like, yeah! And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, my life is made. So if I hadn't looked up and saw that, think about how many opportunities, if you just look around life, there's always somebody doing, like, how many times have you looked up and you see somebody fall and you're just like, they're hoping nobody looked, but in your head, you're like, I
Right.
saw that. Like, there's so much comedy happening around us. And if we could just get out of our own pain and out of our own way, we would realize that, like, I think that's why travel saved my life, because when you're in your home city, you become conditioned, how you were saying about making a small movement. So if
Yeah.
you're living in the same home city, you're going to the same stores, you're going to the same school, you're having the same conversations, the same everything, you go to sleep, right? You're just like, fuck life, it's going to be the same thing. Why am I paying attention? But when you start to travel outside of that, everything is new and exciting and you want to pay attention.
Right. Yeah.
Travel will
Yeah.
change your life, will save your life, because everything is new, fun, and exciting. The problem is most people are bored. And in boredom, they don't feel there's anything good to look at in life. They start to go to sleep. So change it up. Tony Robbins talks about this all the time. If you want to change on a mental level, you need to change on the physical level. That's why it's really important that whenever you are doing stuff, if every day you go to school or you go to your job and you sit in the same place, or you go to your home and you go to the same room, change the furniture in your room regularly, change where you sit. If you go to a restaurant regularly, pick a different chair every single time, because all these things are acts of going to sleep, acts of no longer wanting to be awake.
Yeah.
So if you sit in a different position, you're going to have a different view. And in that, your mind is going to become curious. But when you know everything that's going to happen around you, you go, I don't need to pay attention, because I already know this is here and that's there and that's there, and I don't need to do it. And that's the reason why most people get unsatisfied and burnt out, is that they're not changing their routine enough. If every day you get up and you go on the same walk, you're going to be like, I don't want to go for a walk anymore, because I already seen how many times I'm going to see that tree, and that how many times I'm going to wave hi to Becky. Go to a different street. Get on
Right.
your
Yeah. Like Groundhog Day.
yeah, go to a different day, because that's why most people end up depressed, is that it's the same thing, Groundhog Day, every day, and that will just make you insane. So on that note, do you have anything else you want to share, John?
Curiosity. I just really encourage everybody to be curious. I don't know what it's going to take to be curious, but there's just so much interesting stuff going on in this world. And just keep asking yourself questions. I always end on my motto. My motto for life is short. And if you don't believe me, try to talk to somebody that's terminally ill. And life is for living. So life is short, plus life is for living. And this is the only one you get. So have a good time.
That's so beautiful. I don't even think I can come back with anything from that. So thank
Well,
you
I've
so
been working on this for quite a few years, so it's all
much.
good.
Yeah, I always tell people, if nothing changes, nothing changes, and always fast track to the consequence of them not taking action. If you think your life is bad, imagine your life continuing the way it is every single day for the remainder of your life. And if that uncomfortability with knowing that that's going to be your life and nothing's going to change doesn't make you uncomfortable enough to change, then imagine if things got worse and where you would be then. And if that doesn't put a fire under your ass, like, I don't know, life, if you do not choose to act, life has a way of moving things around you where you have to make an action. So take action so life doesn't take it for you. Okay, on
Taking
that
no
note,
action is an action, right?
yes, that is very true too.
Yes.
All right, on that note, I'll see you guys later. Ciao, ciao, ciao. Remember, like, comment, share if you guys got value from this. Tag someone, show some love on the algorithm for me, and yeah, let somebody know that this podcast is out and they should take a listen.